what's going on, everybody? My name is Guy. This is Guy Talk Sports. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks for giving this video a chance. Tennessee gets the big win, just like we all drew it up, right? 25-15. Tennessee defeats Oklahoma. What a weird score. But Vols get it done in Norman. In today's video, we're going to break down that game. We're going to talk about some key moments that happened in the game, some of the play calling, some of the fake injuries, all of it. We're then going to take a look ahead as Tennessee gets the bye week just in time, as they start to get ready for the Arkansas game. We're going to talk about why that timing couldn't be any better. Lastly, I thought it'd be I've only been focused on Tennessee this football season on these videos. But I thought it'd be cool to do, kind of look around and give my power rankings for the SEC teams. There are 16 of them now. Some have looked really good. Some have looked awful. So I'm going to give that. Before we get into any of that, real quick, wanted to mention down below in the description box, you will see some timestamps. If you want to jump ahead to any of the different topics I'm going to talk about in today's video, feel free to do so. First, though, if you don't mind, below this screen, you're going to see a subscribe button there. Smash that for me. Go ahead. Help me continue to grow this channel. Let's get into this. So Tennessee gets the win, and it feels good to be a Volunteer. Like I said, odd scoring game, 25-15. You really don't see that a lot. Tennessee had the safety. Oklahoma had an extra point, or had 2-point conversion that was called back. Then they missed an extra point. It's just a weird game. This game for me, anyway, what really never was in doubt. Tennessee led the entire game. Well, I guess they were tied for a little bit of it, but really was never in doubt. We're going to kind of get into the play calling and all that. But I really wanted to start with the defense because I think that, again, this was another primetime game. The first primetime game, against NC State. NC State has really shown that they are not a very good football team. They have a lot of issues. And so this was really one of the first big tests. Not that Oklahoma has a great offense or anything like that, but I feel like this is the first game where people said, okay, Tennessee's defense is legit. People have, you've watched the first 3 games and you've said, okay, these guys are really, really good, but how good are they? Because they've not been challenged too much. Again, Oklahoma's offense is not the best, and obviously, if you watch the game, but a lot of that had to do with Tennessee's defensive line. This unit is 12 deep. And it's what I've been saying. It's what everybody's been saying all year. I think this is the deepest defensive line. Maybe not the most talented list of starters when you have like Henderson, Haynesworth combo and stuff like that. But as far as quality depth, there's not a lot of drop off between the starters, the second string, third string. You saw Jackson Moy, a third string DT, defensive tackle, get in the game and make some big time plays in the backfield. I think he had 2 tackles for loss. This defensive line showing that I have yet to see a better defensive line. I think they're the best in the country. And I don't know if there's much of a debate for that. This is the deepest position group on the team, deepest I've ever remembered the defensive line being for Tennessee. James Pierce got a half sack. There was a couple chances he got in the backfield, missed the sack, but he's going to start getting sacks. I truly believe that. He's too talented. He's going to be a first-round pick. But just the entire defensive line, Joshua Josephs has had an amazing year, continues to have an amazing year. Tyree West, I mean, you could name all 12 of these guys, and they're all just like, oh, yeah, that guy's had a great season so far. Yeah, that guy's had a great season so far. This defensive line is dictating what the opposing offense it has to do because they are pushing that line of scrimmage in back a few feet as soon as that ball snapped, I mean, they are just wreaking havoc in the middle. And offenses can't do anything with that. And all that does is help your other lines of defense, right? The defensive line's playing great. Guess what? Quarterback doesn't have a lot of time. Secondary's probably going to look pretty good. And the secondary has looked good. You had Jermod McCoy with an interception. He was locked down. He is a very, very. I didn't realize how talented he was. I feel like he was given more opportunities. Teams before this game really haven't got to throw a lot, but I feel like he really got to, kind of got to highlight him this game, and see just how locked down of a corner he is. Very, very talented. I was really impressed with him. I was impressed with everybody on defense. Linebacker play, Keenan Peely, Arian Carter flying around. Keenan Peely with a mean streak in him. Just everybody flying around, just making big time tackles. Constantly had Jackson Arnold on the ropes the entire time he was in. And they played so well. It was so dominant. Eventually, Oklahoma had to go to their backup quarterback because Arnold just kept messing up. He threw the pick, he fumbled as soon as Nico fumbled. First play, Arnold gets stripped again, or gets the strip sack, fumbles it, and Tennessee recovers. And then he had a lateral pass. It was a really close call. Call on the field was that it was a fumble, so it wasn't enough to overturn. Which I think was the right call because I don't think it might have been a forward pass, but there wasn't enough to overturn that. But anyway, he ended up with 3 turnovers. Their offense absolutely was not doing anything. In comes the freshman Michael Hawkins Jr. He did okay. I thought he really I feel like he first off had a lot more opportunities because Tennessee was just running. We'll talk about this, but Tennessee was just running the ball, punting, giving it right back to him. And so we had some of the backups, especially in the secondary end there towards the end of the game. And so Oklahoma ended up getting a couple garbage time touchdowns. But Tennessee went 19 quarters without giving up a touchdown, which I think they said was the best in the FBS in like 20 years. That's how good this defense has been. Again, not the best competition we've played, but to do that, it's still impressive. Like I said, that Michael Hawkins Jr. came in. I thought he did. Like I said, he did some good things. Played gritty. Tried his best. It gave him a better opportunity, I thought, than Arnold did. So looks like there's going to be a bit of a quarterback battle there in Oklahoma. But yeah, defense just. You had the 2 garbage time touchdowns. I thought, the first one, okay, yeah, I gave up that touchdown. The second one, it was like a 4th and 3, around the 10-yard line, something like that. And we got called for roughing the passer, and it was a soft call. I don't like complaining about the refs. You have to deal with what happens in the game. You just have to accept it and play the best you can play. But the refs really weren't great. Somebody would cross the goal line and they would all kind of look at each other for a minute and then finally be like, "Yeah, we're going to call this touchdown. Yeah, touchdown. Okay, yeah, touchdown." It was a bit odd. They weren't communicating well, and I thought that roughing the passer call was garbage. But neither here nor there. Tennessee still got the win, but a couple late touchdowns, given up late in the game. But overall, this defense is phenomenal. Let's move on to special teams. Once again, they shined. Max Gilbert continues to be consistent with his field goal kicking. He was 3 for 3 in this game. I think he's only missed 1 field goal all year, and I think it was like a 50-yarder. So he has been lights out. Jackson Ross, been sitting on that bench all year, waiting to finally get to punt this ball. I think he's punted once or twice so far this year, but he has not had a lot of work. Finally got in, had 8 punts, averaged 48.4 yards a punt, long of 57. I think he had like 3 punts over 50 yards. Really, really solid. I mean, he's one of the best punters in the country, and I don't think that's close either. He had one really, really good punt. The punt returner, fair caught, or was signaled for fair catch. Thought it was going to go into the end zone. It bounced on like the 1 and just kind of sat there. I think they downed it at like the 4. A couple plays later, you get Oklahoma doing a false start, and then Tennessee ends up getting the safety from that. And so again, that just shows you how dominant this defensive line was. That immediately were in the backfield for that safety. And a lot of that had to do with that phenomenal punt from Jackson Ross. So he's been awesome, or he was awesome this game. Josh Tuberville, I think every single one of his kickoffs was a touchback. Kick and punt return, Squirrel White statistically didn't have a great day, but if you watched that game, you noticed players sliding around a lot. And that field, it was awful. I don't know what's going on with Oklahoma's field, but it was not great. People were slipping and sliding everywhere. Oklahoma, I don't know if it necessarily had anything to do with the field, but they had a player. I wish him the best. I felt awful for him. I can't stand it when I see these guys get hurt. But he really, I think he ended up dislocating his ankle. But that turf was not doing anybody any favors. It was not great. But anyway, yeah, so special teams looked great. Like I said, Squirrel White didn't really have much of a chance. He was slipping and sliding everywhere with that with an awful field. So moving on to offense, as exciting as the defense was, if you were a big fan of big offense, like you typically see when you watch Tennessee play, this was not your game. This had a completely different flavor to it. To start the game, Lance Hurd not available. He was out, and I think that was a surprise to everybody. I think a lot of people expected him to be there. And then so you had Dane Davis fill in for him. He got beat a lot. It was a tough game for Dane Davis. I don't know. He's played better games, and so he got whipped on a few plays. That was one of the strip sacks. I think actually both strip sacks was because he got beat off the ball. And then you had John Campbell Jr. goes down, I think sometime in the second quarter. I don't think he's finished a game this whole year. I don't know what's going on. I think he has some kind of chronic knee thing. I'm not trying to speculate. I'm pretty sure he had like a ACL surgery or something like that back in Miami. From what I've heard, there's a lingering issue there with some kind of chronic knee pain. And I don't know if he just gives it a go every game and just can't finish. Not sure. But we had 2 backup tackles in that game. And like I said, it led to 2 strip sacks. And so I wanted to kind of highlight that to A, kind of set up why the offense looked the way it did, and then B, talk about why this bye week came at the right time, right? I really wanted to make a quick note, and Kirk Herbstreit definitely made note of it as well. It was really hard for Tennessee to get any momentum in this game, and it was, they have a great defense, and they definitely helped. It definitely kept us so low, but conservative play calls definitely aided in us having such a low scoring game. But also, anytime Tennessee would have a big play, there was a fake injury by Oklahoma, and it was really refreshing to hear Kirk Herbstreit really go after them for all the fake injuries, because it was very blatantly obvious. Obviously, you had that one player get hurt for Oklahoma that looked very serious, but all the other, like, they looked like they were just like something jump on, but they would, you just have a defensive lineman just fall over for no reason, and for the reason of just stopping Tennessee's tempo. And so it was really cool to hear Kirk Herbstreit really call them out on that, because it's an unfortunate part of the game, and I don't know why they haven't found a way to fix this, because they really should, because it's affecting the flow of the game, and it's a big deal. And I think it really helped keep Tennessee out of the end zone. I mean, all power to them. It's not technically against the rules, but I think it did help keep Tennessee out of the end zone for a couple of those. And so we'll see if that gets changed in the upcoming few years. I feel like it should. But anyway, it was nice to see, Herbstreit kind of mention that. So Tennessee, had a hard time establishing the run. Oklahoma's defense, to any Oklahoma fan that may watch this, your defense was lights out electric. I knew they had a really good defense. I did not know it was that good. They had a very, very good defense. I was very impressed with Oklahoma. They showed so many different looks. I think Heupel talked about it, how they showed a lot of different exotic looks that they hadn't shown all year, specifically for this game. And Tennessee had a hard time establishing the run. Bishop kind of got it going in the second quarter. He ended up with 16 carries for 65 yards. Dylan Sampson was like the last drive of that first half. It was an 8-play drive, and they handed the ball to him 8 times, and he scored a touchdown. It was a really cool drive. But for most of the game, other than that drive, he was held in check. He had 24 carries for 92 yards and a touchdown, which kind of breaks his 100-yard game stretch that he had. I think he had going back to last year. So just barely missed the 100-yard mark. But Tennessee, tough time getting the running game going. Overall, ended up with 151 rushing yards. So, not bad. I think 150 is a good mark. Typically, Tennessee hits 200, if not more. And so you still got 150, which I think is great. Took a lot of different, carries to get there, more than what you normally see. But they had a hard time getting that going. You had a hard time blocking for Nico on the long developing plays, which is why when Tennessee went up big, they kind of sat on the ball. So let's talk about Nico first. Nico, I thought he looked good. He was 13-21 for 194 yards and a touchdown. Didn't throw an interception, but he had a couple of really he had one beautiful deep ball to Brew, and great catch by Brew. It looked like it was going to be overthrown, and Brew just ran through the ball and did a diving catch. Brew had another one where he caught it and just bullied 2 defenders until he was finally taken down at the 10. And then he had an absolute dart to Dante Thornton for a huge touchdown. That kind of is what kind of broke the game out right there. I think it was 3-3 at the time. All of a sudden, Dante Thornton catches it, goes up 10-3, and from then on, the game started to get out of hand. But once Tennessee went up big, and this is where I really want to talk about this, because Heupel in years past, he is go, score. We're going to put up 100. He didn't do that this game. In this game, honestly, I think it shows the growth and maturity of him as a coach, because he has that offensive mindset of just wanting to put up as many points as he can. And I think if this is any year before this, he's going to go for that 4th and 1. He's going to take a few more deep shots. He didn't. He saw what our defense was doing to their offense. Their offense could not move the ball, and so our defense was stout. Offensively, went up like 19-3, then 22-3, and he shut it down. All we did was run the ball after that. Every now and then you'd see a pass play, but for the most part, we were just running the ball and running the clock out. And I thought it as boring of a game as that is to watch. It's very smart. It's very smart. He really wanted that win. We needed that win. You got Alabama and Georgia later in the season. You needed to get this one in the bag. And once you went up that much, there was no reason to keep risking injury to Nico, or risking this lead, because the only way Oklahoma was going to get back into this game is if they kept turning the ball over, sacking Nico, and we could not protect for him, and we could not protect him like we needed to. Like I said, the tackles were getting beat, and so they said, man, let's just run it. And they did. To their credit, they did not give up on that, and Oklahoma ran out of time. And I thought that was actually really, really good play calling. I know a lot of people had a problem with it, said it was, awful play calling, garbage, conservative, all this. I thought it was smart. I thought it was really smart. I didn't like watching it, but I knew it was going to give us a better chance to win. And sure enough, Oklahoma, like I said, they scored those 2 touchdowns at the end of the game. But, total yards, we had 345 to their 222. Passing yards, 194 to their 186. And then rushing yards, 151 to their 36. I think they had like 98 yards total going into that 4th quarter. And so really they were just those last couple drives where Oklahoma started doing stuff, because we had, it was garbage time, and they were trying to make a game out of it as best they could. But it was just, too big of a hole, and our defense was not letting them have anything for free. So overall, amazing win for Tennessee. I thought it was kind of refreshing to see Heupel emotional after the game. He typically, if you watch his press conferences, I used to always watch press conferences after Tennessee football until Josh Heupel became the head coach. It not dogging on him too much, but he is very robotic typically. Just, we play, just he's not going to give you any kind of big time answer or get emotional or anything. For this game, it was different. It meant more. It meant more to the team. I encourage you to look at, I think it was the football X or Twitter page, or whatever. They tweeted out a video about his kind of locker room speech. Things got really emotional. It was I think it meant a lot to him. He talked about I think his mom passed in May, and she was looking forward to this game, and so it meant a lot to him. And it was to me anyway. It was really awesome to see him get that win. His dad was there, and I know after he got wronged by Oklahoma 10 years ago, it was just really nice to see him get that win. It meant a lot. So that was cool to see. Team definitely fought for him. I think this team has really good chemistry from what it shows. And they want to play for him. And they it meant a lot. It meant a lot. So I was really happy to see that. So Tennessee goes into the bye week. They are going to prep for Arkansas. And like I said, this game or this bye week couldn't have come at a better time, right? I think if Arkansas is this weekend, I think that's a big time trap game, and I would be very concerned that Tennessee would lose it. It was such an emotional win for this team, for Coach Heupel, that you get 2 weeks to kind of get back to baseline. I think so. I think that's really important. You have a few injuries going on right now. Boo Carter was injured, and I didn't see what happened to him, and so we'll see whenever we get an update on him and his status, but not sure if he what even the injury was. And so you have him, Cam Seldon. Speaking of running the ball, I think he only was in the game for just like a couple plays. He never got a carry, and so not sure exactly what's going on with him either. Tennessee definitely needs a third running back. You never know when somebody's going to go down, and you need a third running back that's ready to play. And so I don't. Cam Seldon definitely has a lot of talent. I think he's going to be very talented, but not sure what's going on there. Lance Hurd, I think they're expecting both him and John Campbell to be ready for Arkansas. Like I said, I think for Campbell, it's that chronic knee thing. Again, this is full speculation. He might have a completely different injury. I'm not certain. And then for Hurd, I think it had something to do with an ankle or lower leg. Again, speculation. No idea exactly what their injury is. But from everything I've heard, they are expecting both of them to be back for the Arkansas game. I guess we'll see whenever they update their status. I don't know if they have to this week or if it'll be next week. But Tennessee needs to focus on tackle play. If there is, honestly, I thought the secondary might be the Achilles heel of this team. I no longer think that. I think it is tackle play that is going to be the Achilles heel of this football team. We can run the ball. Defense is just airtight. But when it comes to, we've seen it a few times, when it comes to Nico dropping back, some tackles are getting beat sometime. And it's not necessarily Hurd or Campbell. It's typically when they go out, they need to be healthy. And if they can't stay healthy, they need to get two guys that can go in and be serviceable. I know they have a couple of like freshmen or younger guys that are behind Larry Johnson and Dane Davis, but they need to figure that situation out. That's going to be the most important factor, I think, for the rest of this season. Is can you keep this offensive line healthy and efficient enough for Nico to do anything in the pocket? Because right now, like I said, Dane Davis, I've seen him play better, so I don't know. I don't know what was going on in that game. Oklahoma has a great defensive line. They have a great defense. And so he got beat. Larry Johnson, I don't know how much I trust them and when you really start getting in the meat of this SEC schedule. So they need to figure that out, and they need to figure it out fast because they have 2 weeks now to prep for Arkansas, and they got to get that figured out. And so the bye week really couldn't have come at a better time. Get your team healthy, figure out tackle play, rest up, emotional win, get back to baseline. Looking at the defense, I keep bringing that energy. I think that just need to focus on that. Bring that energy, that intensity that you've seen from them every single game, and they're going to be okay. And so that's all I got for that. Let's roll right on into this last thing I wanted to talk about, and that is the power rankings. I wanted to do a power rankings, so let's start from the bottom and work our way to the top. So at 16, it's Mississippi State, and it's not close. They have looked awful this year. They have not looked great. They're definitely in a rebuild, right? Definitely in a rebuild, but they have not looked great. I'm very happy that we have to play them this year. Because I do think with Levy being their coach now, I think he's going to get it turned around. It's just going to take some time. At 15, I have Auburn. They are in a quarterback crisis. They are having a hard time scoring the football. And so they're at 15. At 14, I have Florida. Florida beat Mississippi State. They looked decent, pretty good against Mississippi State. But again, it's Mississippi State. So it's hard to know how much you can take out of that. And I can almost guarantee if they lose one more game, Billy Napier's going to get fired. So they're kind of playing for his job. He's coaching for his job right now. And over time, that pressure just gets too much. And so I think it's just a matter of time before he gets fired and they really start to crumble. I think they've already been crumbling this year. They've not looked great. They've not looked well coached. Last week, not bad. You beat Mississippi State, but again, it's the worst team in the SEC. And so not sure how that team's going to be. We play them in 3 weeks, and it's Florida. It doesn't matter how bad they are. We'll talk about it when that week comes up. But they always give us a scare. They always end up seeming to beat us. They should not this year, and we'll talk about that here in a few weeks. But Florida's at 14. At number 13, I got Kentucky. I don't know what to make of them because they lost to they got blown out by South Carolina, and then the next week they almost beat Georgia. So I don't really know what to think of Kentucky. I don't think they're a great team. I think they have some talent on that roster, but I don't think they're a great team. At 12, I have Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt almost beat Missouri, and I don't think Missouri is as good of a team as we initially thought at the beginning of the year. I do think they have a lot of issues. This is a couple times now that they've almost got beat by not great teams, and I think it's just a matter of time. Fortunately for them, they haven't had a bad schedule yet, right? They haven't had to really play anybody. But I think once you see them play a few of their harder games, I think they're going to start losing. But I got Vanderbilt at 12. They've still been, they still have looked. They beat Virginia Tech, right? But still not the best. And I think they still have the ability to fall down on this power ranking board. But for now, they've definitely been better. They've not been the worst by any means. Like I said, they're at 12. There's 16 teams in the SEC. So they've certainly had some bright spots this year for sure. At 11, I've got Arkansas. I think they can be sneaky good on offense. They gave away that Oklahoma State game. And if they had won that, they're undefeated right now. And they're higher up on this board. So I think they're just a few plays away from being a better team. That's why I think they're a little bit better of a team than what a lot of people give them credit for. And maybe I should have put them higher. But right now I have an 11. At 10, got South Carolina. They've definitely looked better. I think they have their quarterback has been injured. I'm not sure exactly when he's coming back. But I think they had Ashford in there. He looked decent. So I have them at 10. Not a fan of South Carolina. Not a fan of Beamer. But all due respect, I have them at 10. At 9, I've got Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma, they have an awful schedule. If you look up their schedule, it's not great. And I think they're going to end up being a better team than what their schedule or than what their final record says. I don't know if that makes sense, but they have a horrible schedule. They play a lot of really, really good teams. I think their defense is phenomenal. Offense is, they had some offensive struggles though, and so I've got them at 9. We'll see how Michael Hawkins does for them now that he knows he's going to be the starter. You never know, that could give him a spark. At 8, I've got Texas A&M. I think they've been up and down, but for the most part, I feel like they've looked pretty solid. At 7, I've got LSU. Brian Kelly's, I think he's a good coach. I think he's wearing out his welcome down there, but you still got them winning. They've only lost that one game to USC at the beginning of this year, so I have them at 7. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of pieces in place, and honestly, I think they're going to end up being a higher ranked team than Missouri by the end of this year. Because 6, I have Missouri. Again, they're undefeated. They almost got beat by Vandy, and they've not. There's Bowling Green. They almost got beat by as well. I'm sorry, not Bowling Green. They almost got beat by Boston College. So they're at number 6. They're undefeated, but I do think they're going to end up dropping a few here towards the end of the year. At 5, I've got Ole Miss. They have not played anybody, but they've looked really good. So I don't think we know a ton about Ole Miss. I think they're going to be a really good team still. They have an easy schedule as well, but ultimately I have them at 5. 4 is Alabama. Again, I know Alabama is a really good team. I don't know if they're a great team, and so we'll see. I'm very excited about next week. Georgia and Alabama play each other, so I think that's going to show a lot about each team there. At 3, I have the Tennessee Volunteers. I felt like that was a good place. You beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma. You've shown that your offense can be dominant. You've shown you can win in multiple ways. Your defense is far and beyond the best you've had since Heupel's been the coach. Defensive line's the best in the country. And I think your schedule ends up being pretty favorable for you the rest of the year. You got Alabama, you have Georgia, but you have a really good shot at, honestly, this year you definitely shouldn't get run out of the building by any of these teams. Whether you win out, I think that's going to be hard, but you definitely have a better shot than I thought you would against Alabama at home. And so I think that's going to be a great game. So I have Tennessee at 3. At 2, I have Georgia. The Bulldogs, they had the bye week along with Alabama. They play Alabama this weekend. This is going to dictate a lot about I think how a lot of people think about how good Georgia and Alabama are. We'll see how they play each other. I think Georgia is still a really good team, even though they went up to Kentucky and almost got beat. But I do think they're still a really good team. They have a lot of talent on that roster. And then 1, I've got Texas. They've looked really, really good. I've seen a lot of people put Tennessee at number 1 on their power rankings. I don't know if I'd go that far yet about putting them over Texas or Georgia for that matter. But Texas has looked really, really good. Anyway, I wanted to do that. I wanted to give kind of my power rankings from what I've seen these first few weeks. Tennessee's looked really, really good. I think they've looked possibly even better than I thought they would. I predicted them to go undefeated in September, but I did not expect the defense to be as dominant as they were. And so it's really awesome to see. We are definitely a top tier SEC team this year. So excited to see how we continue with the season. That's all I've got for this one, though. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I wanted to get this out. I wanted to go over kind of what happened over the weekend. Tennessee gets the win, beats Oklahoma at night. Primetime game. But anyway, that's all I've got for this one. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Tennessee gets the win, 25-15 against Oklahoma. We have a bye week this weekend, and then it is Arkansas. You definitely can't sleep through that game, right? Arkansas's offense has looked like it has the potential to be a pretty good team or a pretty good offense. So we'll see how that game goes. Very excited about that one. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you. If you don't mind, hit the like button. That really helps me out. Smash that subscribe button for me. Help me continue to grow this channel. Please drop a comment down below. What did you think about Josh Heupel's play calling? How do you feel about the power rankings in the SEC? Tell me about it. tell somebody about this channel. Please tell somebody about it. Say, hey, you like sports, right? You like Tennessee? You follow Tennessee sports? Sure do. Well, you need to check out Guy Talk Sports on YouTube. Tell somebody about it. Help me continue to grow this channel. Thank you all so much. Go Vols, and we'll see you next time.